Patrick Cook here, fractal artist. We're working on a Mandelbulb 3D animation, a rather ambitious project, I must say, but it gives us the opportunity to talk about the Mandelbulb 3D software and its various features and functionality as we pursue a full animation using the Mandelbulb 3D software. Now, where we left off in the last session, we were talking about formulas, and we had talked about we have 6 formula slots, and then we have 3 methods of combining those formulas, however many are determined. And I had created I had populated formula number 1 with an amazing box formula, which is pretty cool. And I found that I was clipping, and I came over to the navigator and we fixed that, and then we pushed it back to main, and so we're on our way. Now, again, what I'm trying to do here is come up with something very similar to that. All right. Now. Okay. Okay. Now the scale is all wrong here. I'm too far out. Everything is too small. There's a couple things I can do. I need to basically move in and get closer to these various graphical elements. But I also know that I want the various elements, I want them to vary in their scale. If I change the scale of this formula, all the scale of everything will change at the same time. I don't really want that. I want a formula in there that will vary the scale. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to formula number 2, and I'm going to pull in one of my more favorite formulas, and it's called A box vary scale. It does some very interesting things, and it basically will take the various elements of the current of the formula that's in Formula 1 in this case, and will vary the scale. Let's pull that in and we'll see what happens. Okay, so now I'm in alternate, and I've got Formula 1 is amazing box and Formula 2 is A box vary scale. These are my default properties. Let's see what we get. Okay, now that's interesting. All right, now let's pull that over to the navigator. Okay. All right. I can walk back. There we go. Let's walk back. Let's see what we got. Get a bigger picture, a bigger view. All right. Okay. Something like this. Okay. Now, part of the navigator's capability is the ability to modify the properties of the formulas. You'll notice here I'm on Formula 1, amazing box. I got 1 iteration going on. Now what that means is that the formula is going to be iterated or run, in this case, once. And then the next formula, Formula 2, which is A box vary scale, you remember that from over here, A box vary scale. All right, so all these properties were pulled over, scale of 2, min r, 0.5, okay? Now, that is going to have an iteration of 1. So Formula 1 is going to have an iteration of 1. Formula 2 is going to have an iteration of 1. Boop, boop, boop. And this is how the pixels are defined. So every time this formula is run, it's going to generate one of these pixels within this image. And And so by the time we're done, we're going to have millions of pixels that are all going to be each defined by the running of the formula or formulas, and where the formulas uh, uh, are outside of the range of the pixel, we won't see those. Those pixels go off to eternity. We don't see those. What we do see are the pixels that are within the range of the graphic, to ultimately create our pixel sequence that gives us a visual pattern. Now, if I go to a box vary scale and modify the scale, whoa, look at that. Look at this. Check this out. I'm modifying the scale property of the A box vary scale, which, as we know, is alternating between the amazing box and the A box vary scale. Alternating. I'm alternating. All right. So that gives me something quite interesting. Just by manipulating the scale. Now, I got a lot of clipping going on, which is indicated by this dull, matted, like orange color. But right now, I'm not too concerned about all of the clipping, because I still am developing my graphic to try to get to something like this. All right? Okay. All right, so let's get something within reason here to start working with. Okay, I'm gonna stay here, and I'm gonna push that back to main. Now, when I do that, all these property values, scale 2.35, is going to be reassigned into the property of the formula back here on the main screen in the formulas panel. So I'm going to push that back to main. You notice how it went, the scale went to 2.35, which is 2.35. I need to recalculate in order to see what these two properties look like when they are alternating between one another. I'm going to, okay. So there we go. So that is a view. Let's push this to 800 width, and I'm going to maintain a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. If I click on that, watch the height value. Watch the height value. Boom. You see, the software calculated for me the aspect ratio of 16 by 9 based upon my width entry, which is 800. Now, I go with 16.9 because that's the current aspect ratio of, say, a YouTube situation, okay? And the aspect ratio is the ratio between the width and the height, all right? 16 by 9 is going to be kind of a rectangular. 4 by 3 up here is closer to a square. I'm not really interested in square aspect ratios in these days and time. 16 by 9. Now I'm going to recalculate. All right. So what I have now is I have an amazing box with a property that I had determined over here on the navigator that gave me something that was interesting, and I'm alternating. I'm using the alternate methodology to alternate with the A box vary scale, which I determined the properties over on the navigator. And this gave me something like this. So we're coming along. Now, we haven't touched any lighting yet. The lighting is over here. We're just defaulting to whatever we get, because what we're interested in right now and so far is the graphic structure. We're not interested in lighting, we're not trying to render, we're not making keyframes just yet. What we're doing is we're working on getting our base graphic in place to where we like it. Then we'll go to lighting. Then we'll go to animation. So let's stop here. Join me in the next session where I'll continue to develop our base graphic that we're going to be working with, that we're going to try to work with our full project. All right. So thanks for joining me so far. We're managing to touch upon the various elements of the Mandelbulb 3D software with a project in mind. So this is a project-oriented tutorial that will continue in the next session. I'll see you there.